Alrighty, well, it is 3:29 PM. We will resume this work session of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. Last on the agenda today is budget overview by 5th Judicial District Attorney Heidi McCollum.
Hi, well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to introduce, thank you for the introduction, Commissioner. So on the line with me also is Wendy Rolls, Financial Manager. I was trying to pull her up here. There you go, Wendy. They've got me in charge of the tech. I don't know that that's a good idea.
Oh, that sounds like a great idea. This should be fun.
And so Commissioner Tharp isn't able to join us. She was just in, she has another commitment, Wendy, and so we have two of the commissioners here with us, and then Candace, I don't know if you can see everyone, and then Matt Hobbs, who is the new county attorney.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi.
Yes, and so we've got Commissioner Lee and Commissioner Bullock, who are both with us. So
Nice to meet everyone.
okay.
Nice to meet you as well.
Now I'm gonna sort of hide you, Wendy.
That's fine. I don't need to be seen.
Okay. All right. So I'll just go ahead and go through. Just a basic overview. There are now 23 judicial districts in the state of Colorado. We are the 5th judicial district, so we comprise Eagle Lake, Summit, and Clear Creek. It runs the I-70 corridor from the Jefferson County line all the way to the Glenwood Canyon. And then we have 5 courthouses. We have one in Georgetown, Leadville, Breckenridge, Eagle, and a 5th one over in Elgin to handle the corner of Eagle County over here where Highway 82 runs just across the corner. And I noticed that here, okay, yeah, if I go back, I noticed that I need to update this because we have Mount Evans listed, and Mount Evans is no longer called Mount Evans, so that's Mount Blue Sky now, and I need to update that. So I always like to put
It might
this.
switch back.
At this point, it might switch back, so, but I should update that. So the population information that we have for the judicial district, this is taken, this might not exactly correlate to what the numbers that you have. This is taken from the 24 census estimate, and that's the most current piece of information that I can get from the census. So the judicial district is just over 100,000 population on any given day, depending upon who you talk to or what data source you look to. We have double that in tourist population, so on any given day, approximately 200,000 people within the judicial district that we're serving. Because it's not uncommon for either defendants or for victims to end up here when that happens. And I say here, anywhere within the district. So here is a current breakdown of the positions that we have and where people are located. Eagle is the largest office. There are currently 17 individuals in the Eagle office. I also and Joe Kerwin, the assistant district attorney, are in the Eagle office as well. We're not listed there. We are on the next page. And you can take a look. Lake is a 5-person office at the moment. That's on a normal day. Sometimes we have more people in the office. So I know the architects are, right, obviously working with all of the departments on there, and we're all kind of constrained. One of our staff, actually, it's not uncommon for her to come actually and work in the evening and at night. So it's quiet, but also, so she has plenty of room.
And are the employees in each county, it looks like they're interchangeable, like they're doing work for all 5 counties,
So
or
who-
4 counties in the district, I'm sorry.
Who? What
Like say how Lake County has a juvenile diversion coordinator, but I
Yes.
am not seeing that anywhere else, so they're handling juvenile diversion situations for other counties as well?
Correct,
Okay.
yes, so these are where this is indicating where employees are housed.
Yeah.
What offices they work out of, but you're exactly right. We have one district-wide SART coordinator, which works here out of Lake County, that's a sex assault resource team coordinator, and then a juvenile diversion coordinator, the same thing. So
Okay.
both of these positions work district-wide, but they are housed out of Lake County because they live here in Leadville. We do have several remote positions, two, HR contractor and IT contractor. Those obviously are not employees per se, they're contract positions. Our IT contractor though has been with the office for, I wanna say a quarter of a century. She has institutional knowledge and has been with the office for far longer than anyone else has been. The total number of staff that we have at the moment across the district is 46. Like I say, this right listed out, we've got attorneys, both district court and county court. I'll go into a little bit of that. District court are the upper level court, felony misdemeanor cases, and county court handle traffic and misdemeanor matters. Sorry, I think I said felony and juvenile matters are district court. I may have misspoken. Trying to think any other questions here. We'll get to the rest, I think. We do have a crime victim compensation administrator. That is an individual who every defendant who comes to court ultimately has court fees and fines, and those court fees go to a handful of different buckets, if you will, into the state coffers. And one of those is for crime victim compensation. Crime victim compensation pays out to individuals who might be a victim of an assault or domestic violence, and they have medical expenses. But for being a victim, they wouldn't have those expenses. They can get reimbursement through crime victim compensation. In homicide cases, if a family incurs funeral expenses or burial or service expenses, they can recoup those as well. So crime victim compensation covers a multitude of stuff. It also covers mental health therapy or treatment from someone who is struggling after, like I say, after being victimized. I will indicate that our crime victim compensation administrator, I don't have these slides on here, but she, and Wendy, I'm gonna get this date wrong. There was 1 month, or was it in 2023? I think in 2023, we paid out to victims just within the 5th Judicial District more money than the entire state of Vermont. And so if you think about it, we have a population of 100,000 people, and Vermont has a population of over 600,000 people. So our crime victim coordinator is really doing her job to make sure that victims are taken care of.
Yeah, that was for 2024.
2024, thanks Wendy.
For 2024, and I would just add to what Heidi said is that this is a program that we are statutorily mandated to manage from our office.
Yes, thank you. And then I've got a handful of statistics here. These are overall case statistics. It's a year in 2022 through 2024 comparison. And a couple things that I would really draw your attention to. So I tried to color coordinate it to make it easier to sort of find the data. Lake is in the maroon color here, and I've divided into 4 separate categories. So we've got felonies, juvenile cases, misdemeanors, and traffic matters. And then total for each county for each year. So when you take a look at the total number of cases for Lake County, right, the overall case numbers are not necessarily going up, right? They're staying somewhat constant. And matter of fact, I would say that 2023 was an outlier because we just had more. Overall, the total number of cases across the district, the 6,200, that is an increase from the previous 2 years, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a huge increase. It's not insignificant, but not the reason that we're looking for the increase in the budget like we are. when you take a look at it through the percentage breakdown of this, so the way this works is that of all the felony cases in 2022, Eagle County handled 41% of those. And 8% of those came out of Lake County. Now, obviously with statistics, they're only as good as the data that is input. And you need to also understand where that data is coming from and what it is comprised of. So these are the total number of cases. And when we take a look at the, when we add in the felony, the juvenile, the misdemeanor, and the traffic cases, the most recent annual caseload for Lake County was 6% of the total cases. So of those, that 62, Lake County comprised approximately 6% of those.
We seem to have a pretty elevated situation with juvenile cases compared to our size and population in the other counties. Seems like, is that something that's been consistent in years past, or is that just 23 and 24 were just kinda how it ended up?
You know, it's interesting because I don't have a handle on why that is. For instance, if you take a look at the juvenile cases, if you compare it to, for instance, Eagle County, you know, Eagle County typically has well over half of all of the juvenile cases in the district.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2023, it was only a third that was attributable to Eagle County. By the same token, right?
Yeah,
Lake County had a huge jump.
yeah,
that
Lake
year.
and Summit really picked up the slack that year.
Historically, and I haven't looked into that particular, this particular percentage, but historically, that can happen when there are a number of kids that are all involved in one incident.
Mm-hmm.
And there are multiple kids that are, right, that cases end up being filed on because of that.
Like big brawls or something.
Big brawls, big parties that turn, that turn bad, but, so.
No escape route from the kegger.
No, typically not. All right, so we do have some budget trends, and it doesn't appear that case numbers are the driving factor in that. So what we have determined is that there are certain legislative changes that are requiring additional time and resources to be spent either in places we haven't spent before or to be spent in greater numbers than what we've seen before. So competency court is has been happening for 2 years now. We have a competency court with over 75 participants, and it is held basically every other Friday. We do not have enough staff to have one attorney staff it every Friday, which is sort of a shame because we rotate through. We rotate our attorneys through. I'm in the rotation as well, so I'll do it on a Friday, put in all the notes, and then 2 weeks after that, we'll have another deputy DA who handles the competency court. These are individuals who have been deemed or who are being evaluated for competency or under restoration for competency. If someone is deemed to be incompetent and they cannot be restored, there is a specific time limit in which they are in the competency court. If it exceeds a statutory limit, typically what, at least for misdemeanor, how long they could possibly be sentenced in jail, then the case is just dismissed outright. And you've probably heard a couple of these cases in the news, right? There was a big one up in Weld County, one in Arapahoe County, where the man ran out into the park and tried to physically grab and kidnap a child. His case had to be dismissed outright because he was found incompetent and could not be restored. So,
What does that mean, restored?
restored to competency.
So this is
So
let
they-
him out.
100% let him out. The state says you cannot prosecute anyone who's not competent to understand the nature of the charges against them, to aid in their own defense.
Is that a new law, recent law?
Is that 2 years?
It is some of the, there are some legislative changes that has really, that have driven that.
Any chance that it'll
Yes.
get reversed or, cause, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, your guess is as good as
That
mine.
must be infuriating.
It is infuriating, and there's been a lot of blowback, in those districts. We've actually had an individual, several years back, this was a Clear Creek County case, and the individual, he actually, he killed, someone. So it was a homicide case, and, his defense team had filed for competency. He was found to be incompetent. We had multiple competency evaluations, those are done by the state hospital, so it drags the case out for months and months, and ultimately it was deemed that even with restoration, he could not be restored to competency at all. So he, despite the fact that he committed murder, he is in fact out in the public. There are no charges against him, the case was dismissed, because we have to. Yeah.
Susan,
And so there are, I mean, I think we're all aware of the increase in mental health issues that a lot of people have, but the criminal justice system seems to have, I would say, more than its fair share. A lot of people struggle. So competency court has been implemented, we have that. There is a new competency diversion program, which is, like Wendy had said, like the crime victim compensation, competency diversion is also statutorily mandated. And that is a case where we bypass competency court for people that we think are maybe low-level offenders, and that rather than take the time to try to get them restored, that they might not have the severe mental health issues that individuals in competency court have, that we might be able to, with appropriate wraparound services and community services, get them to a place to where they can function appropriately outside of the criminal justice system. And if they have paid reparations, if they have done certain requirements throughout that diversion program, that again, their case will be dismissed. We have an adult diversion program, which we use for the same thing, where it's usually for first-time offenders, very, low-level cases. They can be felonies, but low-level felonies. Usually people that, for whatever reason, are just struggling or having a really difficult time in life, but they're not hardened criminals. There's no reason they should be saddled with a felony conviction for the rest of their life. And the adult diversion program is a way to get them right on a more appropriate path to making better choices and to getting out of the criminal system. So I didn't even list the adult diversion program that we run out of our office. The juvenile diversion screenings, there are now from 2023 moving forward, I believe it was, there are statutorily mandated screens that every diversion that comes through that we have to do. It's an ARNA screen. Please don't ask me what the acronym stands for. Every juvenile in the state of Colorado who is charged with a case gets an ARNA screen. Based on the score of the ARNA screen, then they are either put into juvenile diversion, again, where they can sort of work off the charges, and it could be paying restitution, doing community service, it could be putting out letter of apology, it can be educational components as well, and as long as they complete all of that, then we will again dismiss the case. What this does in the diversion, both competency diversion, adult diversion, and juvenile diversion, is it takes cases out of the caseload that the attorneys would otherwise have in court. Not competency court, but the diversions take it out. What I think the largest struggle and the largest impact that we have had in regard to budget and what our budget needs are, comes down to digital media, digital evidence, body-worn camera, cell phone extractions, any kind of media, and I've got some statistics on there on the number of hours of body-worn camera that cases are generating. The other thing is that through HB 217, which I think was passed in 2020, the use of force cases have to be statutorily, if there is a police officer use of force case, in particular a shooting, my office has to do one of two things. I mean, either after review, either file charges against the officer, or in a shooting, in a use of force police officer shooting case, if we don't file charges, we are obligated to draft a report and post it publicly. So every officer involved shooting case which my office has not filed charges on, there is a report on the website indicating why we couldn't file charges on it. And then the other component that I'm not sure where it's coming from, but the number of appeals that are being filed, and I know I had mentioned this last year when I spoke, and at the time, I'll have to go back, at the time, I think I said we had about 4 to 6 open appeals. And if you were to ask me today, we easily have over 25 open appeals. And it is out of control. I'm not sure why there are so many. It just, we get ineffective assistance of counsel claims, which if those are granted, it can go back, and it really involves another mini trial.
These are
only in-
costly.
They're very costly. They're very time intensive as well. If there's an illegal sentence, we don't really get illegal sentences anymore. Sometimes the sentencing structure in Colorado is incredibly complex. I think it's probably the most complex and convoluted in the entire country. There are multiple exceptions to every sentencing rule. So has it happened where a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and a judge all miss something in the statute and someone is sentenced straight to an illegal sentence? Yes. When that happens, if it's shown that someone did receive an illegal sentence, then it's, right, again, we just have to go through the process and make sure that they're not being sentenced to something more than what they would have been for what their guilty plea was, or what they were found guilty of, or vice versa, right? And then a reduction of sentence. In a lot of cases, that's almost an automatic right plea. A defendant is allowed under certain circumstances to, after a certain amount of time has passed, to ask the court for a reduction in the sentence. Not because the sentence was illegal, not because of any other reason other than, right?
Good behavior.
They can, yeah, that they can talk about good behavior for sure. And then just general appeals where there was a mistake made at trial, right? There was an argument at trial, or a piece of evidence was admitted at trial when it shouldn't have been, or something along those lines. And these are taking up a tremendous amount of resources for
Not
DO's
just,
offices.
in all 24, 23
Judicial districts?
Yeah, this is the same story pretty much across, like you're seeing a,
It is, I don't know
Massive
what their
increase.
exact statistics are, but yes,
okay, so
yes.
this is like
We are seeing a huge number of appellate issues.
this is a budgetary challenge across the
Huge.
board pretty much.
I have one attorney, and depending upon what the appellate matter is, you could take 3 cases, and that's a full-time, that's 40 hours a week with 3 cases. And we've got upwards of 25 at the moment, so.
When was that change? You said there was 6 at what?
That was last year.
Last year
That was
there
last year at this time. That
Wow,
was last year at this time.
okay.
And so the other thing that we've seen are an increase in the types of cases. Homicides first and foremost, these are the most egregious cases, the most important cases that we have, and also the most time consuming, and they can be the most complex. When you put all of that together, it adds up to a huge resource commitment in order to handle these. What I will let you know, and you'll see it, I think, later in a slide, we typically would have maybe 1 open first-degree murder case in the district at any given time. Historically, that's what it's been. We now have 6 current open first-degree murder cases, and 3 of them are from Lake County. So there's a lot. Violent juvenile crime is what we're seeing. A lot of cases, a lot of fights, a lot of cases involving guns. whether they're shot or not, but involving firearms. And then we have what, organized crime, retail theft, car theft, and bike thefts. And those are not necessarily so prevalent here in Lake County, but they are very prevalent in particular, Eagle and Summit counties. It's on I-70, the retail theft, there are multiple open cases and investigations where we have retail theft, schemes that span multiple states and involve, for instance, right, and we have, Walmarts, we have Home Depots, right, within our judicial district. And these banking banking scams as well, the investigations that have to go into these cases take months and months and months, multiple agencies, and so it's a lot that happens, not just on the law enforcement side, but then every search warrant, right? Maybe it's a search warrant for a cell phone or a search warrant for a bank account, search warrant for vehicle information, whatever it might be. All of that comes through our office, and we have to be kept apprised of what those are. The financial cybercrimes, and then the construction fraud. I don't know what's up with that. I could have 2 full-time deputy DAs, and a full-time investigator, probably 2 full-time investigators, just doing construction fraud cases across the district, and they would be swamped. So. So.
I don't wanna go too far down a rabbit hole because it's not directly related to budget, but what's an example of construction fraud, like?
Roofers. Roofers, and we've done multiple cases where they've been in, Eagle, Summit, Lake, and Chaffey County. Where a roofing contractor, the scam is, they say, Commissioner Lee, it looks like you need a new roof on your home, and it looks like that's gonna be about $30,000. And, right, they're great salespeople, and they will talk you into, you pay half up front, right? So $15,000 check for me right now, I'll get people out here right away, we'll start working on it. You write the $15,000 check, and no one ever shows up. And this happens, right, multiple victims. Huge scams. And people, it's not uncommon for it to be roofing because it is such an expensive component of your home. And those can be, I think the most expensive, or the most one person lost was 50-some thousand, 53,000, I think, to a construction scam. Those usually don't happen as one-offs, they're usually, like I say, multiple individuals. A lot of times, in particular, with seniors, they won't always report it. And I think it's because there is an embarrassment or a shame component where they don't want anyone to know that maybe they were taken advantage of. Despite the fact that a lot of the construction fraud scam artists are very, very savvy in what they're doing. So, did that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So here's a breakdown, and there's a couple caveats I want to give you with this. I took a random sampling, and these are just Lake County cases. The sampling, because there's no way to pull the data from the different digital platforms and to compile it, so you have to go case by case. So I took a sampling of 1 in 20 misdemeanor cases in Lake County, of all the, cases filed in 2021 through 2025. Both misdemeanor and felony cases, and I double checked the amount of, and added up all of the time that the body worn camera or digital evidence that it takes, and that doesn't include the photographs, this is just video. It could be security camera footage, it could be body worn camera, it could be dash camera. So in 2021, you can see it's roughly the same for misdemeanors and felonies, right? Because we didn't really have a lot of agencies that had body worn cameras at that point. You can see there's a huge jump in, and this is an average number of hours per case that deputy DAs need to review because it's evidence in the case. And so in 2022, you can see a huge jump from the prior year, both in the misdemeanor and in the felony cases, as to the amount of time per case that it takes. 2023, misdemeanors didn't have a huge jump, which I don't know why here. It could be the random sampling. And felonies, again, almost doubled from the prior year, the amount of time on every individual case. Now, in 2024, again, these are random cases, but I did pull the case numbers. And in 2024, there was one misdemeanor case in the random group and one felony case in the random group. The felony case was a homicide, and the misdemeanor case, one of the misdemeanor cases that was pulled out of the 1 in 20 per year was a high-profile multi-agency case. Because of that, because of all of the different agencies, right, and I've got the number, there were over, I wanna say it was 196 hours of body-worn camera in one case. 196 hours of body-worn camera in one case, that was the felony case. And so that obviously upped that average that were there. Now, that was, as a homicide, you're gonna have that many hours. But what that means is, if you have 196 hours, that's 40 hours a week doing nothing but watching body-worn camera for 4.5 weeks straight. In one case, and not going to court, and not looking at any of the other cases that you have. And not handling, like I say now here in Lake County, the 3, right, open homicide cases that are going on. So that one is an outlier, and this was actually an interesting exercise. What my goal is to somehow see what we can do to pull all of the actual cases, not just a random sampling of cases, but to pull all of the cases and to get a true average of, so I don't want you to think that this is a true average. I wanna be very clear about how this data was pulled. And then you can see, I do think that 2025, I think that aside from 2024, right, 2025, I didn't see any outlying cases in either the misdemeanors or the felonies. But when you take a look at that, that's 3.5 hours per misdemeanor case, right, that you're looking at, and over 7 hours per felony case of body-worn camera and of digital evidence. Again, it's not reviewing warrants, it's not working with law enforcement, it's not talking to victims, it's not responding to motions, it's not filing motions, it's not going to court.
Watches
So
body
it's
cams
just
and
sitting and watching
people standing
movies.
around filming stuff.
Yes.
It's,
So this is a huge part of our budget ask and our budget request and increase. And incidentally, there was an article that actually was just printed yesterday in Colorado Politics. I'm happy to leave it here with you. It was, it's an opinion piece, and it's done by both the prosecution and the defense speaker heads for the state of Colorado. So Tom Raines is the Colorado District Attorney Council Executive Director. He works for the very large board of all elected and assistant district attorneys in the state of Colorado. I'm on that executive board. I'm the vice president this year. I'll be the president of the CDAC next year. Tom Raines and his counterpart at the public defender's office, a gentleman by the name of James Carbach, wrote this opinion piece together. And it's, like I say, I'll leave it, and it's entitled "Colorado Courts Electronic Discovery System Buckles Under Its Own Weight," because we can't keep up with the volume. So,
it's.
that just came out yesterday, coincidentally.
It's mandated by the state that someone in your office has to review every second of digital evidence.
Well, it's not mandated, no. We could not watch body-worn camera. So but if you were a victim in the case, or if you, right, if you were a defendant in a case, every attorney prosecuting that case needs to know what the evidence in the case is. You can't walk into court and not have read the reports
Yeah,
and watched, right? The reports are a fraction. The reports are 1/4 of the information contained in the body worn camera. And you just don't know where it is. You don't know where, right, the important statements are. And when you're reviewing the body worn camera, the one thing that this doesn't take into account at all is that when you're watching body worn camera, there's a lot going on, right? If it's on the side of the road, there's cars driving by, there's multiple people talking, the wind can be blowing, and you have to stop what you're doing, stop it, go back and listen to it again, and make sure that you're getting exactly what people did or didn't say. And so so this is just the amount of body worn camera footage there is, not necessarily how long it takes
yeah,
to
you
pull it
got
up. The other thing is that when we go to trial, we don't play, right, on a DUI, we don't play a 2 hour and 45 minutes, section of body worn camera, even though that's how long the officer was out there. We'll take clips of doing it. But in order to get all the clips, you have to watch the entirety to pull the clips, what you want. Now, we do have staff that, we can ask and say, hey, here's a clip, I have a 2-minute 17-second clip that needs pulled out here, and we need this pull out, but again, in order to find those clips, cause not everything that happens on body worn camera is admissible in court. So you can't just play the whole thing, part of it is inadmissible. And so, again, through the motions process, you would argue with defense, counsel in front of the court, the judge, and then the judge would, indicate what can be admitted as evidence and what can't be admitted as evidence. That's when we go and we start pulling clips.
this has to be a challenge nationwide, I'm guessing.
It is, and it's overwhelming.
There's no centralized or resource that you guys can say, send a video file off to, say, hey, can you comb this, look for anything we need to know, and they'll send back the.
So we haven't done that yet, and I've been asked that question, multiple times. Here's my hesitation with that. If I'm going to court, everything that I say, right, my law license is on the line when I talk to the judge. And I don't know who's reviewing it, if we send it away to someone, I don't know how thorough that review was.
Right,
I do know how thorough my review is when I do it,
yeah,
and that's the review that I need.
yeah,
So,
your name's on
the
the
other,
line.
the other question, or the other suggestion someone had asked about, AI, and that might have been in the meeting, I think Candace, we were in. And I do think that that's where it's going, but we're not there yet.
Yes.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to add one thing, just because I think it goes along with the AI, is that one of our budget requests, and it's not an increase this year, but it is for what we call Axon Justice. We have been using evidence.com is another name for it. We've been using their free version for the last 5 or 6 years, and we need to purchase access to their system, and it will help us with a lot of these things. It's going to make reviewing some of this evidence a lot easier. For example, we had an attorney last weekend who was listening to 8 hours of jail phone calls. This system will be able to input that in there, and we will be able to enter keywords, and it'll be able to transcribe those jail calls for us. It doesn't eliminate the attorney's review of those, but I do believe that it'll cut down on time. And that's just one example of what the Axon Justice program will do for us.
And that same program has already been and is being currently used by multiple law enforcement agencies in this district as well. And it is, it's AI generated police reports. And so from the body worn camera, the software now can differentiate voices. It can indicate what someone is saying, and it will write a police report for the officer when they get back to the office. The officer is then required to to review their body worn camera and to read through the report to clarify any misstatements or anything that the software didn't pick up. But it can pick up multiple voices And it will, it will indicate, it would say, well, Commissioner Lee asked, right, et cetera. And Commissioner Bullock stated, and it's amazingly accurate. I mean, I keep looking for the AI generated police report that's wrong,
The six-fingered hand.
and I haven't found it yet. There are a few, I guess, minor things, but nothing, right, where I would look and say, hey, I told you shouldn't have done that, chief. So it is coming, and it, similar to what Wendy was talking about. So some of the things that we've done, right, so far to try to combat this, I mean, it is specialized training, and we now have people in the office with different, different sort of unique skills. We have an investigator who specializes in digital warrant reviews. So cell phone extractions are the big one, and are you looking for GPS location, or are you looking for text messages? Are you looking for data on the phone? What is it that you're looking for? The other issue is that once we get the data, like from the cell phone dump, it's a ton of information to go through. I mean, it can be thousands of pages of data that yes, we have the information, but who's gonna go through and look at it? Right now, our investigators are doing that. So, it's not just the attorneys, right, that are struggling to keep up with all of this. So we do have specialized prosecution units. I talked about it last year, sexual violence unit, which handles sex assault cases across the judicial district. The appellate unit, right now, I actually have one of our interns also right now working with the attorney who's on that. And we are in desperate need of another attorney being brought on to that unit to help with the volume of those cases. We have started to put together the outline and the format for starting up a domestic violence unit, particularly with felony domestic violence cases across the district, a financial crimes unit, and a violent crimes unit. And the violent crimes unit would be, like I say, for the homicides in particular. The competency in the mental health unit, because right now that's over 75 cases in court, and we are, that's for a felony prosecutor, 75 cases is deemed a full-time caseload. We recruited this last year 6 interns who all took the bar in July. We have just received notice now, 5 of those interns were successful. And now they are one of them has been sworn in, we're waiting for them to get the paperwork from the Supreme Court, so that will at least help out and give us some support in county court, so some of our county court deputies then can step up into felony court to handle those caseloads. And then the other issue is that we've worked on the housing issue. Because housing is an issue for all of us in all 4 counties. I would say even in Clear Creek County is probably the worst because there's nothing available, whether it's affordable or not. So currently we have 8 separate units that the office holds the lease on. Here's the breakdown: 3 in Eagle, 2 here in Lake, 3 in Summit, and we currently have 9 staff members in those units. So, but for this housing, we wouldn't have those 9 staff members. And all of them are either attorneys or interns. They're not specifically saved for attorneys or interns. If we had an open position and we had housing available, we would absolutely make that available to any other position in the office. It's not exclusive, it's just, and I think because the interns all have just come in, that's why those are full. I keep wanting to, change it on my computer.
I know.
And nothing's happening when I do that, sorry.
Do that all the time over here.
sorry, and so the expansion needs, and I guess this is a little bit maybe beyond, this budget, I know, but I wanted just to put it in here, so we are past capacity, here in this building, but I don't think that's unique, I think a lot of departments are past capacity. And then we are at capacity in the other three, counties. And then our staffing expansion, so we're looking to increase the sexual violence unit. Those are not all attorney positions, those are full-time positions within that unit, so victim services, investigations, attorney and administrative position. And the same then for the appellate unit, the appellate unit is either 3 full-time attorneys or 2.5 attorney positions and a part-time admin position. For domestic violence unit, again, that would be 1 attorney, 1 investigator, and an admin. The financial crime unit would be an investigator and an attorney, or 2 attorneys, depending upon who was available. And then the competency and the mental health unit, I don't foresee it being 2 full-time attorneys next year, but I do see it within, up at when we get to 2028, we will definitely need 2 full-time attorneys to handle the competency court and the mental health court. Right now, our adult diversion, we only have 1, we have 1 adult diversion coordinator across the whole district, and she works, her home office is Clear Creek, but she travels, and she is full. We have, Wendy is at 50 plus defendants on diversion right now?
That's correct.
Okay. And I will tell you that the screening devices, for them to be into diversion, take about 2 to 2.5 hours per individual. So when she comes over to the Eagle office, and she has 3 intakes, then that's, it's the entire day, just to come and screen people into the program. So the screening tools take up a lot of time as well. So that's, sorry, kind of end abruptly, but I know we're probably kind of tight on time here. So I know that we've obviously asked for, for an increase this year, but I wanted to try to explain the struggles that we are under at the moment for staffing. And again, it's not just the attorneys, it's for everything that happens, for all of this digital, this body worn camera, the admins have to process it, and get it uploaded into the individual cases. And with these homicide cases, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of discovery in these cases. And, sometimes when we go to trial, every page has, they all have a Bates number, right? And so a Bates number is every piece of discovery we get gets a number, right? And so the arrest report might be pages 1 through 10. And it's stamped at the bottom, Bates 1, 00001, Bates 2, Bates 3, all the way through. And that's the way we track it with the defense, and that's the way we track it through the court, and that's how we track it in court at hearings. So we don't just say, Judge, I'm using page 46 from so-and-so's report. We actually use it, and there's a Bates number at the bottom. And so to put all that information in, and so I'm open to questions. I know Wendy is open to questions here as well. Is there anything that I didn't touch on that you wanted me to kind of inquire about?
So much. This is a massive and complex. This is one of the most least understood and most complex departments, since we don't work alongside you guys every day, it's, it's like, oh, it's somewhere off downstairs, they're doing their thing. And,
if I can just say the other thing, most people don't understand and don't know what goes on in a DA's office.
Mhm.
And the reason that they don't is because unless someone is integrally involved in the criminal system, right? Most lawyers who don't practice criminal law don't don't know what all the process is and don't know what all the procedure is. The vast majority of people in our communities, well over 95% of the people in our communities are, are hardworking, you know, law-abiding individuals who only end up having to go to the court system when they get called for jury duty. They've not been victimized by a case, and they're not charged with a case as a defendant. And so they don't have that integral knowledge of, right, what goes on, right? What's the difference between, you know, someone getting a diversion sentence versus, you know, a deferred sentence through the courts where it's sort of put off, and again, their conviction can be vacated, but they go through the probation office rather than through our office, right, with diversion. And there's, it is complex, I recognize that.
Well, I think first off is that, you know, we've heard of some of the challenges that have popped up lately with the funding and catching up. And we're all, you know, we're in challenges too, you know, we're,
Yeah.
like you guys, it's a parallel story of having more and more to do and less to work with. So, I understand the position you guys are in. I'm wondering how, when it comes to the catching up part, how long could we extend, like how many, you know, like when I buy a house, I've got 30 years to pay the house off.
Mhm.
How long could we help get the DA's office caught up? How many years?
So we had talked about that at the meeting that the county managers had put together and
Yeah.
Wendy and I appeared at. And I have the document, was it 3 or 4 years, I think, that Jeff had suggested
Yeah, he said 3 to 4 years, but I think we
to
were
build up the
trying to
reserve?
see, yeah, what you guys came back with, like what is your actual budget request for just next year? And then what would it look like on top of that request? And I know that you guys might not have dropped those numbers in yet.
Got it, okay,
Yeah,
I wanna
so-
make sure. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead,
so
Wendy.
I just want to address that a little bit. I think there has been some miscommunication or just a breakdown in communication. We, as an office, are not really trying to get all of the counties to bring us up to a fund balance of $1.2 million. At this point in time, we need the funding to just get through the end of the year, which was the approved budget amount for 2025. And I'm trying to get clarity, to be honest, from all of the counties now on whether or not when you approve our budget, if you're looking at our budget expenses and approving that, or if you're just approving the obligation calculation, because that's a big difference. And I think that's where with the ask for the additional funds to get through the end of the year to just pay staff and pay our expenses has been lost. There's been something lost there. We made a mistake in our office of giving back 2023 fund balance of $2.4 million, which has caused the shortfall for this year because it didn't take into account 2024 expenses. So I don't believe we're actually asking, I'm not asking the counties to build our fund balance up because I don't think that's what you're supposed to be doing. But I'm working with Jill at Eagle County with their finance manager to try and figure that out. And as soon as we do, it'll be really clear, Candace.
Okay, great.
Does
So
that
you
make
guys
sense?
are, yeah, so you guys are gonna follow up with a new budget request to all of us.
Yes, because I think
Okay.
we're trying to meet everyone's ask of us or try the best that we can around that.
Okay,
Yes.
Because we're understanding that it was a big ask. It was a 14.23% increase from last year from our expenses. And that's why I need clarity kind of on how you all vote, because we've not been a part of that process. So I
sure.
guess I'm asking that question right now. In Lake County, when you're approving the budget for the DA, are you just looking at the obligation calculation to approve, or are you
Yeah,
looking at our overall budget?
In the past, we've just looked at the obligation, but it seemed like the ask went up by the amount of the shortfall, and that I think was the understanding for everybody.
Okay.
That minimum fund balance was a part of the bigger ask, cause I think I'm shooting from the hip here, cause I just worked with all of the budget numbers, but I think your ask was like 435,000 for us. I need you to confirm that, cause I really don't have it memorized, versus I think we had been like around like 240-ish before.
Correct. And so a piece of that is number one, we're not getting as much funding. We have grants across the federal, nation have dropped. So we have not received as many grants either. And we don't have any fund balance, which we have given the majority of our fund balance every year to the counties, which is why that decreased. So we're not trying to make it up. That's what our budget is.
Okay, I think then we probably will have our finance directors, cause our finance director Will's been working with Jill.
Perfect.
So I think that they'll continue to work with you to understand that full request then, because I believe we were all under the,
Impression that we're refunding the fund balance.
yes.
Yeah, I heard that last week, and I had to chew on it, Candace, to make sure I understood what was happening.
Did that answer that question?
Yeah.
for you? Okay.
And so you feel like the 435 or 436 that you asked for is the actual request?
I do believe that to be true. At this point, we are trying to cut our budget because it was asked of us last week at the meeting by the county managers. So we are looking at places where we can certainly minimize that budget.
Okay,
Yes.
cause we put in your ask as the prelim, knowing that it may shake out differently. For us, I can understand that you need $200,000 extra dollars, but I also lost $400,000 worth of, public health funding, which we don't get to opt out of providing. And that's not even counting DHS's cuts, which are even bigger than that. So we do understand it being tight. So I would love to see what you come back with after working with Jill.
Perfect. And I did just get an answer from Jill actually, and they also, their county commissioners just see the county obligation. So I think that's where there's somewhat of a difference in my head, the numbers that I'm looking at are our budget numbers, our expenses and how they've increased year to year. Not necessarily the county obligation. So we'll make sure it's very clear. And I think that because of the agreement that we came to with all the county managers last week, I think moving forward, this is going to be a much smoother process. At least that's our hope, Candace. And I really appreciate your time and input for sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm yawning. I was up late working. I'm not trying to be rude. I can't.
You guys
Okay.
have seen budget meetings all day. I'm surprised
No
you're
offense
awake.
taken.
I stayed out getting ours really fully dialed for today, so I
I'm so sorry.
apologize.
You
I'm
guys have to
sorry.
do this, but
I didn't
Hey,
mean to.
it's our job,
it is. I get it, but
and it's
okay.
one of the
But
most
I
important
understand,
parts.
you guys are working on it, same as us over here, we're all in the same boat of frantically figuring where we can cut and what we can make it on and making every dollar stretch, so.
Yeah,
And I know you're working with Jill on it, so we'll just wait to see what you guys come back with.
Yeah, and we get it. We're not, right, we're not unique. Everyone is, right? Everyone needs more and everyone is gonna get less. So, we understand.
lots of boxes to check, only so much ink in the pen.
Any other questions that we can answer for you? Anything else you wanna see?
I would like, maybe to have a conversation or discussion with you guys about what, changes we could bring forth, at a state level that would maybe help streamline operations for the district attorney's offices in the states and help from a budget standpoint. Like, it sounds like everything's getting more expensive, and there are things that are just inherently expensive for you guys because it's what the state requires you to do. And I wonder
Yeah.
if there's things that jump out at you often where you're like, God, if these rules were different at the state level, it would save us a lot of time.
Sure, one of the big things that the Colorado District Attorney Council does is that we do a lot of policy work and every elected DA in the state, depending upon what the issue is asked at some point or another to testify in front of it's typically the Senate Judiciary or the House Judiciary committees with regard to new and proposed legislation. And, you know, when House Bill 217 came through, you know, we testified and, you know, we all supported, we want body worn cameras, it's great, you know, cameras don't forget, you can prosecute something 12 years from now. And what the person said is what they said, and it's on video, and that's great, who wouldn't want that? I don't think what any of us realized the impact was gonna be was the sheer volume. It was an unfunded mandate. So, and I think it even mentions in here the number of body worn cameras that the state, 2,885 body worn cameras have already been deployed. That's not the number that have been purchased, but there are out there. And so, you know, to your point, yeah, I would love to have that conversation. Of stuff that's kind of coming up and, you know, coming through the legislature. So,
Yeah,
but if you're looking for funding, they're not gonna get it.
No,
I mean,
no,
we
they're
can't
not.
get it from the state.
yeah,
I
and
mean, they don't
even
have it either.
any changes that would cost anything to implement are pretty much off the table for now too.
Yeah.
But it takes a village, and I know you guys do have a voice down there, but if there are things we can identify that would help operational efficiency, you know, the impacts of digital evidence reviews are extremely expensive, and I don't know, it'd be worth talking about, you know, what are possible solutions that anyone's ever come up with?
Well, there's actually a committee, right, that both the prosecutors and the defense bar has been working on. To kind of come up with some solutions, and so that's really what the article also touches on. And I should have made additional copies, but I printed it out, but take a look at that, so.
Okay.
You know.
Yep. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you so much, we really appreciate it.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you, I appreciate, and thanks for staying awake. It's a long day for you guys. So, okay, all right, thanks, Wendy.
Thanks so much.
I appreciate you jumping on.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, nice to meet you all.
You too.
Likewise.
Okay.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay.
And I'll just wait to see what you guys come back with. I
Yeah.
went ahead and penciled in the 436 that you asked for and
Okay.
prelim,
All right,
so.
and then we'll go from
Yeah.
there. Okay, that sounds great. Okay,
Okay, well, thanks Heidi, good
Yeah.
to see you again.
Thank you.
likewise, I appreciate it.
Good
Stop
luck
by
out
the
there.
office anytime, you
Thanks
know.
for the hard work.
No, of
Thank
course,
you.
thank you for the hard work.
Mm.
You know,
We're just
as hard as
sitting-
my job is, I would not want
We
your job.
just sit here and listen.
I just wouldn't. So, yeah, thank you,
That's smart,
Paul.
that's very smart. I wouldn't want your job
Sounds like
either.
someone's smarter than we are.
Well, you know, like everyone sort of ends up doing what they enjoy doing, right? I have a girlfriend of mine and she's a divorce law. I can't even, I would rather gouge my own eyes out, right? But she loves it and she's great at it and she's, you know, she provides a wonderful service to her clients and so, you know, we all end up doing what I think we're supposed to be doing.
Someday I'll be drawing children's books.
Thank you so much.
All right, well, thanks, I appreciate you
Yeah.
guys taking the time.
And don't forget your,
Oh,
your
the flash drive,
drive.
yes. Where is it? Is it in
Is
the?
it in behind the TV on
Oh,
the
I
other
thought you
other
put it
side?
in there. I didn't ask you to. Let's see if we can.
It is.
You got it?
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
All right, appreciate it.
Have a good one. Likewise. Alright.
See you guys in a few hours.
It's in a few
What do we got?
hours. Okay, also, can you end our meeting?
It is 4:32 PM and we are going to conclude this work session of the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for reminding me.